Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Ivy English. I'm Karen.
And I'm Wesley.
Today is July 15th, to the middle of the month already. We're on page 41 in your magazines, and today we're going to hear part 2 of the piece that we started yesterday entitled Daniel Defoe and the Remarkable Robinson Crusoe.
好，我们的中文标题就是《鲁滨逊漂流记》。
This goes back to the 18th century. Daniel Defoe was born, we think, in 1660, and Robinson Crusoe came out when?
1719.
That's right. So this goes back a pretty long time, and some people consider Robinson Crusoe to be the first real English novel.
Yeah, 所以这个1719年出版的这个《鲁滨逊漂流记》很多人认为它是最早的一本真正的所谓的小说，英文的小说。
And it's a work of English literature, but I think this whole idea of being stuck on a desert island by yourself has captured the world's imagination. Wesley said that he read a Chinese version of it when he was young, although he wasn't quite as captivated by it as I was.
Yeah, 所以这个我想很多人小时候大家都读过了，我小时候也读过那个中文的简易版《鲁滨逊漂流记》。当时我印象没有，当然印象很深刻，但是没有觉得说好像非常非常喜欢。Yeah.
You're not as much a loner as I am. That might be one reason. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah.
We're going to hear part 2 of this story, and here we go. Defoe's great tale of the character Robinson Crusoe, who is also the narrator of the book, tells the experiences of a man with a strong passion for the sea. Although his parents want him to be a lawyer, Crusoe chooses to embark upon voyage after voyage. Even after one of the ships he travels on is wrecked in a storm, he decides to go on other journeys. Another ship that he sets sail on also encounters disaster. This time, it is not the forces of nature that lead to catastrophe, but pirates. The main character is captured and forced to become a slave. 2 years later, he is able to escape and is rescued by a Portuguese ship off the coast of Africa. Despite the enormous problems he previously faced, Crusoe once again departs on another sea voyage. This time, he is shipwrecked and must live on an island. He is the only human survivor of the shipwreck. Crusoe collects tools, weapons, and other items to help him live by himself before the destroyed ship sinks. Years later, he learns there are savages on the island that eat people. Crusoe saves a man from the savages and gives that person the name Friday because that was the day he saved him. Eventually, Crusoe is able to leave the island when an English ship arrives there. Over the centuries, Robinson Crusoe has had a huge impact on other writers. The memorable story has been used as the basis for numerous other books, movies, TV shows, and even cartoons and comic books. Its themes of courage, determination, loyalty, friendship, good versus evil, and faith in God make it a truly remarkable story that continues to be read and enjoyed to this day. Back to the beginning. Defoe's great tale of the character Robinson Crusoe, who is also the narrator of the book, tells the experiences of a man with a strong passion for the sea.
好，那所以 Defoe 他这个伟大的一个故事，关于谁的故事呢？关于这个角色鲁滨逊的故事。那角色鲁滨逊是谁呢？他继续告诉你他是 Who is also。那 The Robinson Crusoe 也是，他不但是个角色，他也是这个narrator 就他也是这个叙述者 of the book。那他这个整个故事讲的是什么呢？Tells the experiences 是讲的是一个人的经验那 experience 在这里加了 s 表示是不同的经验所以他是讲到一个人的经验 of a man 这样他讲的是一个人的不同的经验，而这个人他还有什么特色呢？他是 a man with a strong passion for the sea也就是说是一个热爱大海的一个人with a strong passion for the sea 就他热爱大海那显然他热爱大海的表现之一就是他很喜欢航行那这个在当时的时代背景也是一样，因为那个差不多是欧洲大航海时代之后结束说事实上也许还没有结束啦在欧洲大航海时代之后那大家对于这个世界大家有那种探索的欲望。
Now some people 要海爱要山 I like mountains better.
Yeah.
Although his parents want him to be a lawyer, Crusoe chooses to embark upon voyage after voyage.
虽然说他的父母亲希望他当律师啊，那当律师在当时是个 respectful job 啊，是一个蛮体面的一个工作，因为当律师你要能够识字，要能够使用语言，然后帮人家解决法律问题啊，所以他父母亲希望他当律师，但是呢，他却选择要 embark upon 啊，就是 to begin a journey 的意思啊，所以他决定要这个进行一次又一次的航行。Voyage after voyage， 所以一次出海了回来了还不够，还要再第二次还有第三次啊，不同的船不同的地方。
Instead of becoming a lawyer, he actually ended up often needing the aid of a lawyer because he often ended up in jail.
Yeah, that's right 哈，所以他自己没有成为律师啊，到后来反而常常大概需要律师的帮助，因为他常常被关起来。
Even after one of the ships he travels on is wrecked in a storm, he decides to go on other journeys.
好，甚至于他所这个搭乘的一条船啊 ，one of the ships he travels on， 那个 on 是因为他的受词是那个 ships 啊，那或者你应该讲说 one of the ships that he travels on 啊，那个关系代名词子句 that， 那个 that 是受格的关系代名词啊，所以这个 on 介系词不能掉，所以在他所在的一条船上，这条船怎么样 ？It's wrecked 啊 ，in a storm。wreck 这个字就是badly damaged 或者是 destroyed， 所以我们一直昨天到今天都看到是 shipwreck 啊，那就是船难。那个 shipwreck 指的是船沉了，但这个地方这个 wrecked 啊，这个也差不多就是沉了，就是这个被摧毁掉了 in a storm。It
was knocked against rocks, so parts of it were still above water and you could still go to the ship and get things out, but it crashed into rocks, so it was broken apart.Yeah,
所以这个 wreck 船也许还没有沉，就是有一部分的残骸可能还在水面上面，那你可以去赶快抢救一些物资下来等等的啊，那叫 wrecked。好，然后呢，所以即使他的船有一次这个出事了啊，他还是决定要 go on 啊 ，go on 也是一样，他就是 go on a journey， 就踏上另外一个其他的旅程。
Another ship that he sets sail on also encounters disaster.This time, it is not the forces of nature that lead to catastrophe, but pirates.
好，那另外一条船 that he sets sail on. Set sail 就是 to begin a journey 啊，通常是 on water 啊 in a ship 或者是 boat 啊，所以另外一条他所搭乘航行的船叫做 another ship that he sets sail on 啊，那这条船 also 也怎么样 encounters 一样遭遇了 disaster 也一样遭遇了灾难啊。那这一次呢 it is not 并不是 it is not the forces of nature， 那各位把这个片语背起来 the forces of nature 就大自然的力量，这要注意两个地方，第一个那个 force 是复数的，因为大自然力量绝对不会只有一个力量啊，所以 the forces of 然后呢大自然不加冠词 the forces of nature 啊，你把整个片语背起来，所以这一次呢不是大自然的力量 that lead to catastrophe， 好 catastrophe 就是 a terrible disaster 一个重大的灾难啊，那 lead to 是导致或者这个result in 的意思，所以这一次呢不是大自然的力量导致的灾难，换句话说船不是遇到风暴，因为他上一句讲是 wrecked in a storm 啊，是暴风雨让那个船沉的啊，那这一次呢这个不是大自然的力量导致这个大灾难 but pirates 而是这个海盗。好，那顺便提一个很有趣的地方，就是这个 pirate 这个字呢在它第一版的那个拼法它是拼 P-Y-R-A-T-E 啊，那个时候拼法跟现在不一样。
The main character is captured and forced to become a slave.The
main character 就是主角啊，他被抓起来了 captured， 然后呢 and forced to forced 前面还是有个 is 啊，所以 is forced to 就他被迫啊，这个变成了一个奴隶。
Right. I remember that it was written sort of like a diary, and that's one reason it sounded so real. He was just recording what happened every day.
Yeah, 那个是有自传体的形式，而且很多地方它就是用日记的形式写出来的。
2 years later, he is able to escape and is rescued by a Portuguese ship off the coast of Africa.
好，2年之后呢，他有办法，他 is able to 就是他终于managed to 的意思，就 escape 他就逃脱了。然后呢 and is rescued by 然后被救。这 rescue 这个字呢，通常就 to save somebody from danger or harm 所以他被救了。被谁救呢？被一条葡萄牙的船救了。那在哪里被救呢？是 off the coast of Africa， 是在非洲的这个海岸被救的啊，这很有趣啊。这个它是个 逃跑的 slave 啊，那他这个白人然后在逃跑的 slave， 那在非洲的这个黑奴的家的外面被救。Yeah.
Despite the enormous problems he previously faced, Crusoe once again departs on another sea voyage.
好，那这个地方他讲到说 despite 啊，尽管啊有 enormous 就是很大的啊，这个超级的 problem 就是很巨大的问题，所以他 previously 他早先 faced 面对了很多 enormous problems， 就之前讲嘛，他被抓了，他被当奴隶，然后他的 problem 包括被奴役啊，那包括要想办法逃跑之后，还幸好有人救等等。他尽管他遇到了之前他遇到这么多的问题，他 once again 他再一次的 departs 就是 to leave a place 啊 to start a journey 啊，所以他再度的出发，就中文讲出发 on another sea voyage， 他再度出去航海。那这个地方讲的好像这个很顺那种感觉，但其实事实上在小说里面呢，他从非洲被救了之后，他跑到了这个 Brazil 啊，到巴西，而且呢他在那里后来就是弄了一个 plantation 啊，一个农庄啊，而且变得很有钱啊。那后来他是决定说他要出海啊，但出海的原因是因为他要去买一些 slaves。那这个很有趣，他自己曾经是个 slave， 可是现在他有了钱之后啊，他决定要去买一些 slaves 来用啊，他觉得 slaves 蛮好用的啊，所以呢他决定要出海，所以有这样的一个中间有这样一个转折。然后呢，这个时候他要再出海，可能就是有的人就会觉得说，哦，你之前出海碰到那么多问题，你还是要出去吗？他觉得没问题，他我还是要去，所以他对于海不信邪，他真的是有 a strong passion。
This time he is shipwrecked and must live on an island.
好，那这一次呢，就真的传承了。那他必须要生活在一个孤岛上面 ，live on an island。这个就是他主要他在这个Robinson Crusoe 的故事。
Right. I would translate shipwrecked, I personally, as 发生船难 because wreck doesn't necessarily mean it sinks. It means that the boat is destroyed. Wrecked,
you're right.
就被弄坏。So that's what happens.
That's a better translation. 所以 shipwrecked 但发生船难大概是比较好的翻译。
He is the only human survivor of the shipwreck.
好，那他是这个船难的唯一的人类的生还者。那当我们看到阅读的时候，你读到这地方你就应该觉得奇怪，他是 the only human survivor。换句话说 ，there are other survivors.
A dog.
那这个是他其实是他船长的这个狗啊，所以还有2只猫啊，而且后来呢，他还 adopt 了一只鹦鹉啊。
That's right.
所以这个是很好玩的，所以他是唯一的人类的幸存者，但是呢，还有狗还有猫陪他。Yeah.
That's right. And in these stereotyped images we have of pirates, they often show them with a parrot.
Oh yeah, 这个海盗的最经典的造型通常会跟着一个鹦鹉。Yeah.
And they're very smart birds. Crusoe collects tools, weapons, and other items to help him live by himself before the destroyed ship sinks.
好，那 Crusoe collects 收集，他收集的工具啊 tools, weapons 武器，还有其他的 items 其他的物品啊 to 目的是可以帮他 live by himself 啊，让他自己一个人过日子啊，因为赶快抢救一些物资下来啊。这是在什么时候之前？在这个 destroyed 这个被摧毁的船沉下去之前啊，他终于他有managed to 啊，这个 collect 或者 he manages to collect 他收集的这些东西，赶快把它抢救这些物资下来。
You know, there's a lot of the things about the book that I don't remember well. I remembered the dog. I didn't remember the cats so well, but when you mentioned it, I go, yeah, I think there were cats, but the dog was his companion. The dog played a really important role. And also this thing about the ship, the wrecked ship there and how much water was in it and what kind of stuff was there. For some reason, I remember that part really well because I'm thinking, you know, he's here by himself and this is not a civilized island. So he can only bring back so much every day. And later on he gets, I don't know if he had fright. No, he had to do it himself. So he goes to the ship every day and tries to salvage. That means 就捡回, like 救回捡回, S-A-L-V-A-G-E, S-A-L-V-A-G-E. That means from a wreck, you pick out things that are still useful. He goes out there every day and he practices triage. Triage means you take the most important things first. T-R-I-A-G-E. T-R-I-A-G-E, that's the French word. Trier just means to sort, 分类. Triage in English means take care of the most urgent things first. So he practiced triage, and he got the things that he really needed most, like an axe. Those things are so important to his survival, and rope and other things. So he got the most important things first, and later on the things that were useful but not as important. And final to the end, they were less important, nice to have. There were still a lot of things left on the boat, but then that big storm came and then just blew the shipwreck away, and that was his last chance to get anything back from the ship. I remember that really clearly for some reason.
所以这个他去船上抢救物资，他不是一次他是好几
每一天，
每一天都去搬那这一段的这个 Karen 老师在印象非常的深我想大概可能因为你大概很好奇他这次又拿了什么因为他刚刚 Karen 老师介绍的很棒的这 triage 你要先最重要的要先拿
right.
然后有机会再开始拿一些nice to have 就是这不是说跟生命交关的，可是有也不错那种东西
Right.
Yeah.
And often he would take some things back. He wasn't sure how he was going to use it at the time, but later on in the book it comes in very handy.
就是有的时候他去捡东西的时候呢，当时他可能不太确定这东西有什么用处但是后来在书里面你会看到这东西后来变得非常的有用 Yeah.
Maybe it was because of being a loner and thinking about survival. I'm thinking, how can you survive alone? And so all of those things were really important.
Yeah. 那也许 Karen 老师当觉得说你要一个人过日子，那到底什么东西才是最重要的或者你要怎么样能够自己一个人过活那我现在想到就是事实上另外一个可能性就是我想每一个人都会很好奇，而且事实上他拿东西的顺序也反映了当时整个的文化，整个的这个世界的知识就是你一个人你要自己过日子，什么东西是最重要的。
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating.
Yeah. 像现在的话 I'm sorry 现在的话大概手机是第一个，很多人大概觉得手机一定要先拿
But it's not going to do you any good on a deserted island. They
Out
probably
of
don't have a
habit,
signal.
probably. Yeah. 那有的人可能觉得不管手机现在没信号，搞不好等一下就会有信号了，先手机，然后还要拿充电器，这两个才最重要。
But you have no electricity.
That's true. Yeah.
That's pretty silly.
Yeah.
I forgot to bring my phone today.
And
I
you.
realized, and I realized it's a good chance to start doing things that don't require a phone, for example, starting to write stories or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I have a pen and I had paper. So when you have a need, you're going to find you end up doing things maybe you should have done before, but you were too distracted to think about them or think that they were urgent. That's one thing that's coming from confinement during this epidemic.
Yeah. 好，所以真的有的时候有些东西这个你已经习惯它的存在，那偶尔这东西你忘了带或者没有这个东西的时候，那其实是一个很好的机会让你体认一下其实还有很多其他你可以做的事情。
And it might be more productive rather than just passively looking at Facebook.
Yeah. 而且它可能这个更有意义的比你一直在翻这个网络，因为很多人觉得逛网络好像不会花什么时间，其实各位可以算算，逛网络非常花时间。
You forget about time entirely.
Yeah. 尤其是你会觉得说我这个我连线很快我这个一点下去它就出来了，但是其实那个都是时间那个你点下去出来它再快那还是需要时间，那这几秒加起来逛网络就会浪费很多的时间。
And you usually forget why you went online.
Yeah.
And then you start thinking, oh, that's interesting. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I think I'll link to this.
Yeah. 好，而且很多时候你在网络上会看到一些你本来不是你本来想看的东西，但是你看到觉得这也蛮有趣的，那你可能就会 get distracted， 然后就浪费了很多时间。
And you think,
Yeah.
What was it I wanted to check? Oh, yeah, now I remember.
Yeah. 会忘了你本来要干嘛了。Yeah.
All right, to continue. Years later, he learns there are savages on the island that eat people. I remember that part of the book too. And he's aware of their existence and he's kind of spying on them and following, where they are. They haven't discovered him, but he has noticed them. It's quite 惊险 because they are cannibals.
Yeah, cannibal 就是这个食人族
yeah.
C-A-N-N-I-B-A-L 有两个 N 所以呢这个几年之后呢他 learns 不是学习 learns 就是知道了他得知了他得知呢岛上有 savages 有野人野蛮人那他们是会吃人的。
Crusoe saves a man from the savages and gives that person the name Friday because that was the day he saved him. That's another part of the book that I remember really well because this guy is actually who he saves. He's just a kind of 就比较不 不是说害羞 but he's just kind of a quiet, normal kind of guy. He's not a cannibal, and he has been caught and is going to be eaten.And they don't have a language in common. That's another thing that interested me is the development of their communication.
Yeah, 好，所以 Crusoe 他救了一个人，好，那事实上他救的这个也是个土著了哈，但是不是这个食人族的哈。那他从这个 savages， 从这些野蛮人的手下救了一个土著啊，然后给那个人一个名字 Friday 啊。那因为那是他救这个土著的那一天。那这一段啊，在文学上面有非常非常非常多的各种不同的诠释。
Can you share some of the interesting ones?
例如说，他这个有人会觉得这个跟这个后殖民论述有关系跟殖民论述有关系，还跟 power relations 有关系。
That's right.
还有谈到这个当事人对于土著的那种 stereotype。然后这个还讲到你对白种那种优越主义等等的，还有 naming， 就是他凭什么给这个人名字当然，在那个情况下你觉得很自然，但是其实 naming 也是文学里面很重要的一个 issues 就是谁有权利给这个地方名字。像殖民主义里面讲到很重要一个，就是大部分的殖民者到了一个新地方要开始殖民的时候，他们会用一些新的名字，会跟你说这是新，例如说，其实美国很多地名都是殖民者放的嘛，像这个什么 Virginia， 对 Jamestown New York， 这些都是殖民者给的名字。那在土著他们原地当地的原住民，他们本来有自己的名字，可是殖民者因为他要表达他的权利为什么我有权利？因为我说这个地方叫 New York， 它就叫 New York。
Well, they did that to the Jews in World War II, too. They just gave them random names like cornfield, 就玉米田。
Yeah. 所以真的是这个，所以 naming 它也本身就是一个力量的展现。所以这个文学里面非常非常多的诠释，而且有的读起来还蛮有趣的。
I think they're interesting. However, they're really from a modern point of view because in the story, which is fictional, there is an affectionate relationship between the two. They have a really affectionate relationship. Friday is really thankful, so grateful for being saved. And he's the one who has to learn English, of course. It doesn't usually go the other way. But they end up being a very good team and very close.
对啊，好，在小说里面，那当时他显然没有想到这么多东西，而且我刚刚讲那种各种诠释呢，他都会压抑某一部分他来让他自己的诠释感觉起来是能够更完整那种感觉。所以其实诠释本来就是这样，你本来就是会压抑一些你不想看到的东西，然后去强调你所看到的东西。
Yeah, and he was kind to Friday, so I just don't have that feeling at all. We also have the expression in English now, he's my man Friday. That means he's my reliable assistant.
所以这是蛮正面的。
Yeah, my reliable assistant. Next sentence, eventually Crusoe is able to leave the island when an English ship arrives there.
好，然后呢，这个地方他讲到说eventually 最后终于呢，这个Crusoe 他能够离开这个岛。因为这个时候为什么可以离开呢？因为有一个英国的船到了那个岛。
Over the centuries, Robinson Crusoe has had a huge impact on other writers.
好，这个几个世纪以来Robinson Crusoe 对于其他的这个 writers 有很大很大的影响那事实上他自己也写了一个续集他写了一个 The Further Adventures of Robinson Crusoe。那就像我刚刚讲，这个他对后来的影响就是很多，因为他这个故事有很多很多可以诠释的层面。像他这个你可以说他是跟 Puritan 的一个传统，就是那个spiritual autobiography 这个传统有关。你就是清教徒很喜欢自己写日记反省他自己这一天的生活。然后呢，他这个小说里面也提到了这个人性是怎么样还有这个人作为一个 social creature的一个特色，就是你需要伴等等的。然后它里面有 travel literature 的特色，有那种 adventure stories 的一些特色。然后他还讲到人定胜天有一些怎么样 invention of a modern myth。modern myth 就是人定胜天，而且可以白手起家。你看我到这荒岛上什么都没有，我什么东西自己弄起来的。然后还有人讲到这里面讲到这个 self-reliance 的重要，你要靠自己然后 civilization 的这个重点的意义在哪里？那还有人讲到这个小说是跟资本主义有关，非常非常多的一种这个诠释都有，所以这个小说会这么的有名。
Personally, I just like reading the book, but there were a lot of TV shows and movies and other things based on the book that came out later. I already mentioned Gilligan's Island yesterday. There's also the movie The Swiss Family Robinson. That was a Hollywood creation. I've seen that movie. It's very Hollywood, but kind of fun. There was Blue Lagoon, where there's just a couple.
还有一个很有名的电影《浩劫重生》by Tom Hanks. 那里面有一个 volleyball, 一个排球，有一个名字叫 Wilson 就后来所以 Robinson Crusoe 有狗，对不对？可是那个 Tom Hanks 他那个角色呢，他的伴就是那个排球。
Oh, really?
对叫他，然后那个排球因为是 Wilson 的厂牌，所以他就叫那个排球叫 Wilson. 然后他每天跟他讲话，最后 Wilson 变成他最好的朋友。
I haven't seen the movie, but the way you describe it, I can imagine it as a Tom Hanks movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 所以真的是他对后来影响很大。然后我们接下来就会讲到很多电视、电影书什么都是跟他有关。
Well, here it is. The memorable story has been used as the basis for numerous other books, movies, TV shows, and even cartoons and comic books.
好，那所以呢，这个 memorable story 这个让人印象很深刻的一个故事呢，很值得你记，非常好的一个故事 memorable 那被用来当做 the basis for 作为什么的根基作为很多这个其他的书电影电视甚至于卡通这个还有这个漫画书等等的。那事实上英文里面有一个字叫 Robinsonades 就是这个仿作这个Robinson Crusoe 的这个书或者这文学作品Robinsonades 就是 ROBINSONADES 就是 imitations 就一大后来因为他太红了，所以很多人就写了一堆跟他很像的东西那是当时蔚为风潮。那后来对于后世的影响就是我们讲的现在还有什么电影电视一大堆都跟他有关。
It's themes of courage, determination, loyalty, friendship, good versus evil, and faith in God make it a truly remarkable story that continues to be read and enjoyed to this day.
那这个故事他谈到了怎么样 themes 就是一些主题讲到 courage 勇气 determination 决心 loyalty 忠诚 friendship 友谊 good versus evil 就善恶的对抗，还有 faith in God 对于上帝的这个信仰。因为这个 Robinson Crusoe 他困在岛上之后他才开始读圣经对于这个宗教有新的体认。那这些都让这个书 It 就指这本书成为一个 truly remarkable story， 成为一个真正很杰出的一个故事。而这个故事 that continues to be read 到今天还被人家读，而且 enjoyed 而且被大家这个享受就每读起来觉得很棒这种感觉。 To this day 就是直到今天。
Again, I encourage everybody to find a simplified version of the book in English and read it several times. You will enjoy it, I promise you. And that's